Hey there, folks. Welcome back to the Overflow. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, and I may or may not still be sick.
Yeah. Hatman's trying to soldier through it for us today. But we've got an overflood for you. Well, sort of. Like, we didn't get a ton of questions one week. So, mostly because the stream was bugging out on us.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're going to go ahead and get everything rolled through here. Let's go ahead and just get started. Ultimate Agent. Actually, the question, as always, partner, what should we start with, politics or entertainment?
Well, I guess. Oh, geez, it doesn't really matter because Ultimate Agent has the first question on both.
Yep.
Let's roll through entertainment and then just do a politics storm.
All right. So ending with depression. Though some of these will be quick answers. All right. Entertainment. Ultimate Agent asks thoughts on Doctor Doom #1. Didn't read it.
I haven't read it.
Yeah, like I said before, the only comics I was really interested that Marvel had going were Hickman's X-Men and Absolute Carnage, and then after that, I'm done.
Hickman's still doing House of X, isn't he?
Well, the event is over. Now he's just doing straight up X-Men and New Mutants.
Oh, okay. All right.
Let me see who's writing Doctor Doom #1. If it's even worth it. Christopher Cantwell. Now, Salvador LaRocca is doing the art, and Salvador LaRocca is fantastic. But Christopher Cantwell. The neo-Nazi? That doesn't sound right. Hold on.
A neo-Nazi writing Doom.
Hold on. So that really doesn't sound right at all. Hold on. Oh, it's a different one. Apparently it's creator of something called Halt and Catch Fire.
Halt and Catch Fire. That was an AMC show, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Christopher C. Cantwell. And yeah, the creator of that show is the guy who is writing it.
What's with all these non-comic writers being brought on to write comics all of a sudden?
I don't know, and I'm not super pleased about it, you know. So anytime I hear that, it's like, unless, if nothing else, I don't think he was hired for his politics. So there's that at least, but because he looks like he actually is a creative type.
Oh yeah.
But even so, the problem is that all of the Marvel's not going to hire any of the people off the independents. You know, They wouldn't hire me. They wouldn't hire Von Klaus. They wouldn't hire, anybody along those lines. So they put themselves in a rock and a hard place because of their own stupidity. But either way, no, I have not read Doctor Doom #1. Probably will not end up doing so.
Should probably mute my phone.
Yes, I just did that myself. Koopa's Revenge Home asks, should American companies be charged for doing business with malevolent enemy nations such as China? Kind of goes against the whole free trade thing.
Yeah, charged?
No.
Like tariffs?
No, I think he's talking like federal crime charges, and no.
Isn't there already some kind of law in the books about that?
Sort of, but it's not really that applicable here. Like if the country wanted to place tariffs on other countries as a negotiating matter for them to do certain things, that's one thing. Like federal penalties against companies for doing business, I'm very much against that. It's just, it's not going to change anything, and it comes across as extorting them to try to do business elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's generally my problem with it. I understand it's not a rock and a hard, or it's kind of a rock and a hard place in some ways when you look at it. But on the flip side, the government should not be in the business of morality, unless it's your inalienable rights. End of story.
Yeah. I don't like the idea of tariffs anyway because, of course, they just get passed on to the consumer. And then embargoes on top of that kind of rub me the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly.
That, and I feel like it's also a violation of freedom of association, too.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you're not, like, directly causing harm or, like, financing terrorism or something like that, I don't see a reason why.
Yeah.
Like, and for example, I mean, malevolent enemy nations like China, that's a bit of a difference between like China and a state sponsor of terrorism like Iran, for example. Those are two different situations. I don't like businesses going all in with the Chinese, given their human rights abuses, but good God, if we stopped everyone from doing business with nations that have fucked up records, we wouldn't be doing a whole hell of a lot of trade.
No, we really wouldn't.
We wouldn't. That and gas prices would be significantly higher than they are now because there goes Saudi Arabia.
Yep. Alright, Swordsman 100 wants to know, how much money do you want for one more Final Things I Love on Venom, if you would do one? The series similar to the other paid for reviews.
Set a bounty.
More than $10. Whatever you want to pay me to do it, go for it. But as long as it's less than 10 or more than $10, you got me.
$13.37.
But that one would take a while because I would want to have comic book imagery from specific panels and things like that to illustrate certain things about the character, and that takes a lot of time. So just keep that in mind. Ugly Media wants to know, how would you write a confrontation between Batman and Thanos, whether it be a fight or philosophy or fists? Well, fists would be Thanos flicking him in the nose and Batman going unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
I would if you gave me a comic book, let's say I did another JLA Avengers, and Thanos was one of the two main villains, and he's sort of the puppet master behind things. It would more or less be a game of constant strategy, and that would be hard. That would take me months to write, because I would have to basically think, what would Thanos' endgame be? And then I would have to think to myself, how would Batman subvert the first plan for that endgame? How would he subvert the second plan, the third plan? I would probably do like 3 or 4 different plans to keep things guessing. I would have to do it over a 12-issue maxi series. So, but even so, I would not have them physically fight at all. I wouldn't really have them even wax philosophical. What I would have them, Batman would not be playing that role in this. That's not really the role he plays in the Justice League. He's the strategist. He's the mind behind things. He's not waxing philosophical with villains, especially something as powerful as Thanos. He's not even going to be on the front line in that fight. Even if he is, he's not going to be fighting the actual big bad. Maybe he would be fighting like the Cull Obsidian or something like that, That's just not his game. The Superman and his conversations with Thanos would be more interesting than Batman's, because Superman is this pure good guy, truth, justice, and the American way, and Superman is a person who believes that life has inherent value. All life does, even Thanos' life, and Thanos doesn't even believe that. So that would be an interesting discussion. I can't think of many Superman villains that are pure nihilists like Thanos is. So that would be the more interesting part for me, because I would basically have a fight scene between Thanos and Superman where Clark, wanting to try to stop him, charges in foolishly and gets destroyed physically because he's nowhere near as powerful as Thanos is. You know, if the Silver Surfer can blast him with full power and Thanos is only annoyed by it, Superman doesn't have a chance. So, yeah. Anyway.
Would you call Brainiac a nihilist?
No. I don't... Well, Brainiac or Brainiac 2?
God, either or. There are some iterations of Brainiac that come close to nihilism.
Brainiac 1 comes across more as just an overly curious scientist, which is why it's actually kind of ironic that in Injustice 2 he's voiced by the fucking Reanimator. But Brainiac 2 is just a machine. He just has a purpose, and he is to fulfill that purpose. I wouldn't call him a nihilist. You know, he just has a function. He's more of a force of nature in a sense, closer to Galactus in his motivation. You know, and Galactus's thing is entropy.
Yeah, because Brainiac kind of borders, depending on who's writing him, in my mind, borders between nihilist and ultimate utilitarian.
Yeah, I wouldn't...
And those are, like, very... I don't know if I call them diametrically opposed, but they're still very opposite.
Yes. No, I'm trying to think of, like, nihilistic villains. Closest I could think of is Atrocitus. I was thinking Green Lantern villains, because Green Lantern has a tendency to have like the really good philosophical sci-fi villains, because it's a science fiction book. Right. But Sinestro is fascism, Ultimate Order. Star Sapphire's Twisted Romance. I can't really think of even a Lantern villain that would quite fit that. Like, the closest that you could find in DC as a villain is the Joker. But it's a different kind of nihilism. You know, Joker's is just, like, pure black. Thanos is a little different. Thanos has a moral code.
I don't even know if you could really call Joker a nihilist, though. That's the thing.
Well, the big difference is that he's a psychopath and a sociopath, and Thanos is neither.
Right. I guess it's easier with Thanos because Thanos has seen sort of the big picture. You know, he can say, you know, there is no purpose in life except means to selfish ends. And even then, like, he doesn't really dwell too much on the selfishness part. It's just all means to whatever end he has in mind.
Yeah, but anyway, no, like, Batman against Thanos is not as good of an idea as you thought it was, to be honest with you. It really isn't. You know, Batman, again, in a Justice League or a team-based thing, like, having him as the forerunner, physically speaking, against the villain is never a good idea. He's a much better strategist. And it's not like he has an invulnerable shield like Captain America does. So, though Cap is also considerably more durable. Let's see here. Ugly Media... Oh, no, sorry, I just read that one. Crystal Wing wants to know, best way to find a good D&D playgroup in person at stores or online. I just stumbled into mine, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I had friends who were playing it or putting a campaign together. Um, yeah,
I mean, maybe
that's
there's
about all I
Discord
got.
servers out there or something like that, but I really couldn't say.
Mhm.
I don't really seek them out. I don't really have the time for them anymore.
Mhm.
Some of these are listed as entertainment, but they come across like politics. Like, well, like, there's one asking if we should declare war on China. No, it'd be a terrible idea. Look up
Yeah,
mutually assured destruction.
that's not even mutually assured destruction. That's on top of the obvious um, physical destruction. That'd be economic destruction. That would literally destroy the world economy. There's no way that we can go to war with China ever.
Yeah. Brian Gilmartin wants to know any new thoughts about how the shill media have deliberately misinterpreted the message of the Joker movie and what it says about their leftist policies. I don't really have anything new to say about it. I mean, it is the same as it has been. They wanted to tank the movie. They wanted it. They wanted someone to die to push a narrative that there's this giant gaggle of incels, and because they are men, they are evil.
Mm-hmm.
And it's obviously not true.
Yeah, I mean they were. It's whenever a topic gets covered, it has to be covered their way, or it's morally wrong. And
Yeah,
that's why now you're seeing a lot of comparisons to Watchmen, the HBO Watchmen.
I have to
You know,
watch
because
that
they,
tonight. I
well,
completely
yeah,
forgot.
because they are now going over race, and because they're covering it in a way that's, I guess, socially acceptable. Now they're being compared positively to the Joker movie, like what they get right and wrong about race in America, or the current state of U.S. politics,
They get
shit
everything.
like that.
They get everything wrong. They don't even
Thing
like.
is,
They don't even understand the source material. I'm only 20 minutes into it, and it's like, what the fuck is going on here?
I mean, that's the thing. It's bullshit. Like the whole moral of Joker is stop beating people down for God's sake.
Yeah, we create
Like,
our own
how about
monsters.
yeah, be nice to people, or they will try to fucking kill you. Like you can't constantly beat a dog and then be shocked whenever it bites back.
Yeah.
It doesn't fucking work like that. And for some reason that pisses people off. I don't understand why. I think it's a perfectly reasonable fucking message, but whatever. And I guess Watchmen now that now they're trying to fucking retcon Rorschach into being a white nationalist.
Yeah,
The
that makes
fuck?
little to no sense either. Like it's really stupid. Like there's so far it is basically Damon Lindelof's like dopey fan fiction trying to wear the flesh of Alan Moore's writing. It's really bad. Like there's a reason it's getting tanked in user rating. Like it is terrible.
I mean, there was like one fucking thing in the comics that could even possibly link Rorschach to being a white nationalist, and that was the fucking newspaper that he sent his journal to at the end. Because they ran like white nationalist shit.
Yeah.
That's fucking it. Doesn't make him one, god damn it.
Not to mention like this guy is kind of a joke. I mean, this is the writer of Lost, right? Lost ended terribly. And he's trying to take on Watchmen. I have no reason to think that he would understand it. And obviously he did not. And he's just trying to, again, he's just trying to wear the flesh of a much superior work. It's just like it's so stupid. It's all politics. There's no creativity to it, and that's like I said, I'm only 20 minutes in.
That tends just to be the problem with fan fiction in general. There's no real soul to it. There's no creativity to it. It's just, like you said, it's wearing the skin of something superior.
Yeah. All right, politics time. Hooray for depression. Ultimate Agent wants to know thoughts on Razorfist's video on socialists being national socialists. I don't watch Razorfist.
It's an interesting concept. I'm surprised he didn't talk more about how that's where politics was sort of shifting at the time. The idea of everything being socialist just because that's where the trends were going. And I don't remember if he explicitly said that the reason why fascism arose was to counter the more leftist form of socialism, communism. If he did, then good. If he didn't, he missed a big fucking part of that whole argument there. Because they are effectively just two sides of the same fucking coin. I mean, the big, uniting factor there is authoritarianism.
Yeah.
But it's just, pick your fucking flavor of, how you want the industries to be nationalized. Because Hitler did the same fucking thing. But yeah, wasn't terrible.
All right. Another question. Ricky Joya wants to know: have we heard of ocean fertilization as a way of fixing environmental issues? I don't know what that is.
Not familiar with it at all.
And I'm sorry, guys, if I'm coming across as dismissive, but a lot of these questions I really have no fucking clue.
Yeah. Oop. Fucking ring.
All right. Tom the Fish asks: do we think Hillary will try to sneak in at the last second? Probably, because the Democrat field is fucking weak. That's actually a rumor that's going around if she's looking at doing so.
I don't know that they'll do it. I don't know that they will. Because if they do, they may as well fucking give it up.
Well, yeah, they'd lose again, but they think they're going to win. They think that she is an electable candidate.
There's a lot of people in the progressive wing of the party that want her to stay the fuck away.
Well, of course they do. Because they want Bernie or Warren or Kamala.
Right. Well, keep in mind, these people are starting to outnumber the old school Democrats. Your establishment Democrats. They're not going to win unless they carry the progressive wing with them.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it turns out, but I would genuinely think that there's not really... I have a feeling she probably wants to.
Absolutely.
And it wouldn't surprise me if she did. At all.
The woman's so nice, he beat her twice.
Yeah, that sounded terrible.
It did, but... yeah.
Cooper's Revenge Home asks, a handful of leftists in the West are going after China. Do you think it's only because China's targeting Muslims? I don't know about that, because I don't see that mentioned very often.
I think a lot of it is just because of the tyranny of China. Because a lot of the people that I've noticed that are going after them are libertarian anarchists. Very much the fuck you, leave me alone sort of people. Not good, but at the same time, like, yeah, of course they're going to hate any sort of authoritarianism. So it's just a matter of certain aspects of China's politics are conflicting with their own. I wouldn't call it convenient, but it's them just saying, yeah, no.
Matchstick wants to know, what do you think would happen if China suddenly breaks again? I don't know what you mean by breaks.
Breaks? As in, like, the way that old school Chinese dynasties broke. Um, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how Taiwan reacts to that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Tibet.
I don't know what we're ever going to really see with China at this point. I mean, I would prefer for the communist government to go out, and I have a feeling in the next 30 years it probably will, but that's 30 years from now. Let's see here. Torin90 wants to know, been going through some stuff lately, have a hard time coping. I went to the therapy before, but they didn't seem to care. Do you still recommend that I still try therapy? Yes.
Find a different therapist.
Exactly. You know, and
I
one thing that I will say is this: um, if you are a churchgoer, I would go to your pastor and ask if he knows one. Generally speaking, Christian therapists tend to be a little bit more involved, at least from my experience. And you should also probably consider support groups for whatever grief you're going through. Because sometimes the best thing for you is just simply the ability to get it off your chest every week.
Yeah. I have an aversion to therapists, mostly because the ones that I encountered forcibly when I was a child were very, very clinical. But I went to therapy with my girlfriend just as, something of an assist support thing about a year or so ago, and she was much better. Like, she knew that I had just a general aversion, semi-fear response, and she did her best to make everything comfortable for me. I mean, someone that she was not seeing at all. I was not a patient by any means. That made me feel so much better. I still have that aversion, but just knowing that there are people out there like that makes me feel a whole hell of a lot better. So, yeah, just find a new therapist. Not all of them are going to be like super, super clinical and uncaring
Yeah.
like that.
Everybody's different.
Yes.
I mean, I have a friend who's just like started his career as a therapist, and he's probably one of the more caring people I've ever met.
Mm.
So I know he'll be good at it, you know. Autis Whisperer wants to know, thoughts on drones being used in the U.S. to deliver goods. It seems cold medication is popular. Wouldn't surprise me, because the last thing you want to do when you're sick is go drive to pick up supplies.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fun.
Yeah.
Hatman would know. Oh, God. I did it once with a freaking sinus infection. I was on antibiotics for it. And this was before I got my teeth fixed. And the doctor's like, well, you're going to be getting your teeth these pulled within a couple of weeks, so just stay on antibiotics and take some time off work, and I'm going to write a letter for you. So they did. And I didn't take as much time as they said. I just used the note as an excuse to take one extra day off to recover after the surgery. But anyway, I remember the drive at like 2 a.m. I was just in excruciating pain. I could barely see straight, trying to drive to Walmart to pick up something to alleviate all the other symptoms. Because whenever you get a sinus infection, you're all clogged up and all this other stuff. The antibiotics will treat the infection part, but they don't help with the clogging and the watery eyes and all this, because it feels like you've just got the worst cold of your life. So that's what I would do. So I was like nasal spray and like I had ice packs on my face and all this other stuff. Like, it was crazy. Oddly enough, like even after the surgery and all that problem being fixed, my jaw still pops all the time. So, but it doesn't hurt. It just kind of, it's like this, popping my knuckles. It's just a stiff joint.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm coming back from, a sinus infection, and needless to say, I hate driving with it because, as exhibited on Sunday night, sometimes your nose will start to bleed profusely,
Yeah.
and you look around your car for any kind of tissues, and then realize that the only thing that you have to mop up all of this fucking blood are the napkins that you got from Taco Bell earlier that day.
Yeah.
And then you have a very, very bad night.
Yeah, stuff like that is actually why I actively keep napkins in my car, like
Yeah.
at all times.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had just run out of them. So that's where I'm going to go after we record all this junk. Back to the store to get some tissues and Gatorade. Gatorade is good when you're sick.
Unless you're on keto, then it's very bad because then you'll make yourself
Yeah,
even
but
sicker.
but I'm not on keto, so
Yeah.
good for me.
But anyway, as for drones, I'm not against it.
I'm not either. I'm not either. I've had drones actually deliver some of my Amazon packages before. I've seen them. Um, so, whatever. It's a little weird though, just the thought of it. But yeah, that's the future.
All right. Leonardo One asks thoughts on South Park taking a jab at non-meat products, saying they're the exact same crap as junk food. Yeah, they're not wrong.
Sort of. I think they're just a fad more than anything else. Sort of like kale or quinoa.
Ugh.
Yeah. My sister got on the quinoa fad and puts it in just about fucking everything she makes. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Kale, never liked it.
Ugh. It tastes
That's a
terrible.
as,
Tastes like
as far as I'm
foot.
concerned, that's a fucking decorative vegetable. Fuck
Yeah.
that shit.
I just always thought it tasted like foot.
Yeah, fuck kale.
But let's see here. But no, it's like nothing wrong with eating more vegetables. I've certainly been making an effort to do so. But yeah, a lot of like, or even just dropping meat in general, I think is not good for you.
Right.
It's very hard to get, unless you know your diet very well, it's very hard to get adequate proteins. You know, or just calories in general from like a strict vegan diet. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just not easy. So
Right.
actually, wait, I don't have to really worry on the internet anymore of vegan gains coming in, like starting to flip out. He apparently lost his channel. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
Because he kept threatening to kill people, and then he wondered why. I'm like, you're a fucking moron.
We're like vegan losses, am I right? Hey.
Ugh. Anyway, next question. Opinion on the drama surrounding the hit and run of Harry Dunn by Anne Sekulas. She needs to return to the UK, considering she has no diplomatic immunity. I have no idea what's going on there.
U.S. ambassador or someone who worked with the federal government hit a 19-year-old kid, killed
What?
him, and then went back to the U.S. Claiming that she had diplomatic immunity and could not be charged with his death.
That's not going to work out.
No, and I absolutely think she needs to go back to the UK to be tried. Fuck that shit.
Well, she's not going to go willingly. They'll have to extradite her.
Or actually, it might. I don't even think she was a diplomat. I think she was like the wife of a diplomat or something.
Yeah, even so, there'd have to be extradition. She's never going to go back
she's
willingly.
got even less of a claim. Yeah. Either way, no, she needs to go back and stand trial. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, agreed. Brian Gilmartin asks, thoughts on Nietzsche's view of women as the source of all folly and unreason? Seems fuel calls for the repeal of the 19th Amendment, among other things. So let's not forget that Nietzsche was back in the 1800s and was kind of a dork. And though he's interesting to read, a lot of his ideas and beliefs are just kind of stupid.
Completely fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Borderline retarded, dare I say.
No, it's stupid and silly, and again, Nietzsche died alone for a reason.
Nietzsche was... Okay, I know most of y'all have read this fucking book, so Catcher in the Rye, Holden Caulfield, is basically just Nietzsche. He's pissed off at everybody. Thinks everybody is somehow phony for whatever reason. You're not doing things right, even though there is no concept of right, because life has no fucking purpose. Everybody sucks, everything sucks. Fuck the world.
I wouldn't say that. Nietzsche was a questioner. He always questioned the purpose of whatever it was, and was critical of it. Now, the big problem with Nietzsche is that he never offered any solutions. Never offered any alternatives. And even with the gravitas of his own questioning. I mean, look at the parable of the madman. So... Because the funniest thing about him, and I've always found this was one of my favorite things about college, is like, there is an idea of nihilism, and then there's an idea of anti-nihilism. Both sides use Nietzsche to argue against the other. It's hilarious. And, you know, as it stands, though, no, Nietzsche was a lonely man who was kind of a dork and died alone. You know, like, he really is not the person you go to on stuff like that. Context matters, and when you take the context in of some of his writings, you kind of realize they lose their impact a little bit. All right, Diego Camacho asks, what do you think of the idea of the U.S. intervention as like government intervention? Well-meaning, but fucks over the people it's meant to help. Depends on what you're doing. I'm guessing since we talked so much about bad foreign policy, that's probably a big part of it. Now, it was announced today that Trump has managed to negotiate a permanent ceasefire and get Turkey out of Syria. Now, I don't know what the negotiation was, but it's a good comeback from his prior fuck-up. Because, and this is something that needs mention, he fucked up, but he corrected himself. So, you get points, but you can't just stop acknowledging the fuck-up. Because that's a dangerous thing. You know, imagine if this were two bigger countries at conflict with one another. So, but one thing I will say is this. It all depends on the leader in regards to foreign policy. Some leaders are really good negotiators. Some leaders are smart in regards to their ability to maintain relationships. Others are all words. And I've never seen one that's perfect. And that, but I wouldn't compare it to like government intervention in day-to-day life. Reason being is sometimes wars have to be fought. And sometimes we are going to go to war with our allies. The question is whether or not we are willing to commit to what it takes to rebuild a nation after a war. Because it took us, 20 years to get China, Germany, and Italy on their feet?
Oh, God.
Actually, it took Italy longer than that. And then they fucked it up.
Yeah.
So
China, you mean Japan?
I thought I said Japan.
You said China.
Oh, doy. No, I meant Japan.
Yeah, China kind of chose the communist route.
Yeah, but no, it's like it took Japan time to rebuild. It took Germany time to rebuild. It took Italy time to rebuild, and that's a long investment. And the fact of the matter is that we're post Vietnam. People don't look at war the same way we used to. I hate to say it, and people are probably going to dislike me saying this. The hippies won in regards to that piece of the culture. The hippies won. Back in the 50s, and this is something my grandparents told me, both of my grandfathers, because both of my grandfathers fought in World War II, is that you kind of just assumed that war was going to happen and that it was part of your duty as a civic duty. Is if your country goes to war, you as a citizen of that country are required to fight it. That's it. That's the end of the discussion. And fighting that war means inevitably that you could lose your life. But you understood that it was for the protection of the people back home. I have yet to see it properly argued that we've ever been in an actual pointless war. People argue the validity of Iraq, but they do it in hindsight. They don't do it in the moment. I think Larry Elder puts that perfectly well, because he basically says it's like every single resource that George Bush had said that they've got weapons of mass destruction still. And they were going off the UN definition. People always try to conflate it with nukes. I'm sorry, no, you're strawmanning. Weapons of mass destruction are three things as defined. Nuclear is the primary and the one everybody's scared of. The other two are chemical and biological. The bombs that Assad dropped on his own citizens are considered WMDs. And the basic reason that they say that is you can kill thousands of people with one volley because of the way it spreads. So, and again, you tell the Kurds that there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, they'll probably slap you in the face. Because they were the victims of it. Then again, the whole Middle Eastern problem is the British fault, is the fault of the British anyway for carving up that region wrong. But anyway, as it stands, no, I don't conflate the two. I think the big problem is that we have an entire sect of citizens in our country that don't know shit about military, don't want to know shit about military, don't understand the wages of war, don't understand the commitment that it takes both to the fight and the rebuilding, and will not take the advice of their advisors at all. Obama did it, and the Middle East caught on fire. Mm-hmm. And then Trump didn't, and he just caused the Kurds a lot of pain. Now, he made up for it, and Kurdish leaders have thanked him for it. But there's still lives that were lost because he fucked up. But he has to own that. And it is what it is. Finally, last question. Kale Bach asks, do we think we should bring back voluntary fighting forces to help foreign lands when the military can't for whatever reason? He's talking about letters of marque, hiring privateers. Well, there are private militaries. We have them. You ever heard of Blackwater?
Didn't we have a couple of Metal Gear games about this?
Yeah, we did.
That just ends in Zanzibar land. Do you want Zanzibar land?
I love Kojima. I really do. But I think that his games are worst case scenario. Okay. Because they are horrifying.
His games are worst case scenario. But Metal Gear Solid 2 basically came true.
Well, yes. That is true. But that's Metal Gear Solid 2 wasn't about PMCs, though. You're
No, it wasn't. That was 4.
yeah. I was about to say 4. That was 4's big thing.
Yeah, we're still a ways away from ID tagged soldiers carrying ID tagged weapons.
Yeah, and being able to see through each other's eyes. Though the technology
War has changed.
Dude, that game is people really do not understand. I understand it is incredibly well scripted, poorly structured as a piece of writing is the best way to put it. The dialogue is great in that story, and it invokes a lot of emotions. The problem is it's like a 6-hour movie. The gameplay is great too. There's some great sequences. It plays very smooth. The frame rate is very steady, even with a lot of action going on. The stealth is a lot of fun. Like, it really is a great video game, even with its flaws. But the big problem is, yeah, it's just not paced well, and that's the biggest issue. But no, there are privateers. That concept still exists. The problem is that some of these nations don't have the money to hire them. You know? But on the flip side, I mean, there's nothing stopping a bunch of veterans, like a couple hundred guys, from forming a company and then contacting the Kurds, for instance, and going and fighting. There's nothing stopping them from doing so. You can do that, and the government cannot stop you. You just have to register. There's licensing requirements and things like that. In fact, there were people that were contractors that fought ISIS that weren't from the U.S. military. So yeah, there's nobody stopping anything or stopping that from happening. You know, it could be an alternative. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if there was a day where there were militias that would go across to different countries on hire to help them. So, yeah, and I'm not against it, because I've met people that are just really good fighters, and that's all they think they can do. It's like, well, fuck it, let them fight. There's bad guys. Let them find them. Go for it. Fuck them. Fuck the bad guys, not the soldiers. I love our troops. But I have respect for all of our veterans except for 2. So, and one of them's dead. So, yeah. But as it stands, no, I'm not against it at all. Hatman, you got awful quiet.
I don't know how I feel about it. That's the thing. I don't know. I kind of feel like PMCs. I kind of feel like PMCs are a bad idea, honestly. It's ironic because it's kind of like a Civil War argument. Like, who do they answer to? Or they
whoever pays the bills.
Yeah, but at that point, they don't have really any loyalties. I mean, they're mercenaries, bounty hunters, essentially.
Yeah. I don't really think that being a bounty hunter or a mercenary in and of itself is a bad thing.
I think it is in the context of fighting a war. Especially if you have corporate interest foot in the bill too.
Here's my thought process. Is even if you have corporations involved, like let's take all of that aside. At the end of the day, it's still a transaction between the person with the money and the person providing the service, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then they have to come to a moral decision on what they're going to do. I understand that gives them the capacity to make the wrong decision, but I don't really think that we should legislate that away, unless especially if it's not going to interfere with the inalienable rights of an American citizen.
This
is something I'm very libertarian
ill
on.
than good, though. That's the thing.
Well, maybe. Or maybe not. It's hard saying. But that's the reason that I'm more of a minarchist than an anarchist. Because there's still got to be a federal government that they would have to be accountable to. So if you were to go to like Zimbabwe and be hired to do war crimes, yes, you would be, you should be hunted down and killed by our government, because that's not what you're supposed to be doing as a citizen of the United States abroad. I'm not arguing. Let me say this: there would have to be oversight.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But that would have to be the extent of it.
But at that point, what would the point of having it be somewhat autonomous even be? If there has to be some level of oversight, then what's the point?
Oversight in the sense that they're not doing anything that's unethical, like outside the Geneva Convention. You would still have to, and there would still be laws to answer to. But I don't think that the idea of privatizing military is necessarily a bad idea.
I just think it comes with way too many problems to solve.
Granted, I also think we should be paying our soldiers better.
That, very yes, and fix the VA, goddammit.
Well, for the VA, just give them a fucking voucher system.
Yeah. Yep. And that's where the money needs to go.
Because, I worked private security, and for a company that had dealings across, overseas.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm obviously biased here. And I was encouraged by people within that job to actually consider taking up overseas security jobs for like a season, because they pay you buku bucks to just guard a building. So not to mention I could have done it armed, which is what I wanted to be doing in that field anyway. Man, I wish I didn't have to do all this writing. Now I want to go play Metal Gear. Love those games. Well, that was the last question.
Last one. All right.
Well, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Nope. Not really.
A lot of them are just stuff that we just don't know about. So there's only so much we can really say.
It is what it is.
Yep. Well, Hatman, any final words?
Yeah, being sick sucks.
Agreed. Well, folks, we appreciate you watching. Again, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to like and share and subscribe this particular video. We will be back this weekend. We're still ironing out a good time for it because Hatman's got some Halloween stuff going on, but we will definitely be podcasting for sure. So, until...
Reminder to you guys also, Paranormal Hativity is happening on this channel October 30th. It's going to be like late night into Halloween itself. So maybe like 9 or 10 p.m. Eastern time past, the Halloween official marker across the U.S. I'm going to be reading creepypastas and scary stories and whatnot. If you have any requests, let me know. Twitter or email alex@hatman.net. Let me know what you want me to read. I'll do it.
There we go. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and take off then. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, and I'm going to get better.
Indeed. We'll see you guys next time. Deus Volt.
Deus Volt.